All right, I believe we are now live with the very first Where's Walter TV live stream here on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. If you're new to the channel, you've never seen me, you don't know who the heck I am. My name is Walter Biscardi, and I started this channel a couple years ago to really help, first-time cruisers, the cruise curious, to find out more about this form of travel, because there's so much bad information, so much misinformation about what cruise ships are like, what it's like to take a cruise, what the food is like, everything about cruising. There's so much bad information out there. And so I started this channel, and we have a pretty good following over on the TikTok channel right now. And we're just starting up over here on YouTube again. And in fact, last night we tried to do a live stream. We had some technical issues with it, talking about cruising with young children, because that's a topic that comes up quite a bit. People are concerned. They might be a little nervous about cruising with young children. Is it safe to go on a cruise ship? Will my kids get bored? Will they eat the food? What's it all about? So we have a wonderful, wonderful private Facebook group, Where's Walter TV. And in that group, we've just got a wonderful group of friends now. And Christy Hamill is a mom who just literally went on her very first cruise like a week ago. And she has 3 young children, ages 5 and under. And I said, you know what, Christy, I know it's your first cruise, but I would love to get you on a live stream so we can talk about, what it was like for you planning for the cruise, getting ready for the cruise, and then what was it like actually on the cruise ship cruising with 3 children under 5 years old. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring up Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hi. Hello.
How are you? It's working today. Yes.
It's working. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, we were over on the TikTok channel last night, and we just could not get Christy up on the live stream for whatever reason. So here we are on YouTube instead. So it's so nice to have you on here, Christy. How you doing?
I'm good. Just, getting ready for school. School's about to start, so.
School's about to start. And I see Cindy, good morning, and Tristan's up. Good morning. How are you guys? Good to see you. Christy can't see the chat, but I will keep her informed on how everything is going. But thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate all y'all coming over. If any of you have friends, family who are cruise curious, they want to know more about cruising, or especially the topic that we're going to be talking about today, cruising with children. If you've never taken a cruise with younger children and you've got questions, you've got concerns, this is the hour to come on and join us to talk with Christy about cruising with children. So first of all, Christy, first question, how many people were on the cruise, and what are the ages of your children?
So you mean the cruise in total, or just like our
No, just you, your family.
It was just 5 of us. It was my husband, myself, obviously, and my 5-year-old, my 4-year-old, and then my 15-month-old. So we had kid and baby, actually. So
wow, that is 3 young kids. So going into the cruise, so did you have any concerns about the cruise ship, about the cruise? So let's first of all talk about safety. Did you have any safety concerns, about you, the family, and the kids going in?
Going in, it was all unknown. So we were clean. I guess you call it clean slated. We had no idea what to expect. We didn't know exactly what was going to be entailed. What is there going to be to do for the kids? Especially the kids, because they have a short attention span. So you got to keep them entertained, or meltdowns happen. So for us, it was just. So for us, it was like, okay, so what can we do? What is there to do? We're going to be on this ship for 7 days. What's there to do? That was a big thing for us, was, okay, so give us something to do, basically. Another thing was safety. I think for us, it was COVID, like COVID-wise, what precautions were they taking? What precautions weren't they taking? And by the time our cruise came out, we had, if I remember correctly, the ship was at 4,200. Okay. So we were above, we were at 100% with ours, with our cruise.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And masks were few and far in between. But we knew that was going to be a thing, like everyone's vaccinated, and we know by the time they got on the ship, everybody was negative, because we all had to have a negative COVID test.
Right.
So we knew that.
Now, I know you and I talked previously about this, but there were two concerns from your husband. One, he was concerned about the children might get seasick on a ship, and two, he was concerned about, will the ship break?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Every time there was a noise, he thought the ship was breaking. Uh, he thought, like, one night there was a thunderstorm and he heard a loud bang and it was just the thunder. But he thought that they were releasing the emergency vessels. And I was like, well, first of all, they're not on our side. We're on deck 6 and they're like on deck 4, so not close at all. And but I think for that, and regarding the seasickness, that was one of the things leading up to the cruise. Was I was ordering things left and right. So I had Dramamine, I had the sea patches, I had Bonine, I had anything you can think of for seasickness aside from the green apples, I had on hand. I literally was like a walking pharmacy. I had Advil, I had cold medicine. Everything I was reading is like, you need to take this so that if you have it and you need it, you have it, compared to needing it and not having it and having to go to the medical facility. And I've heard that those are really expensive. So
Yes. The medical facilities on a cruise ship are quite expensive, and even just buying, over-the-counter stuff in the stores, much more expensive than it is if you get it on land. So it's always good to come ahead of time. Now, having said all that, were there any issues with seasickness once you got on board?
No, we could feel it rock. There were some nights where like, whoa, but like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I feel ill. I think for me it was the nerves. I was nervous. Especially in embarkation day was nerve-wracking. I didn't eat that morning because leading up to this cruise, we were going through heck and high water to get on.
We had some drama there, yeah. But I'll tell you what, can we pause for that just a moment? I want to bring that up because I want to talk about planning for the cruise before we talk about all that drama right before you got on the cruise.
Yeah, sorry.
There was a lot of drama. No, that's perfectly fine, but it's a great story. I want everybody to hear it. But first, I want to talk about, planning for it, because one of the things, you've got 5 people, you got 3 little ones. So this is your very first cruise, and you're planning the cruise. And now not only are you planning a cruise for you and your husband, but now you're bringing 3 little ones with you as well. So let's talk about choosing that cabin. How did you decide which cabins to even book, or something like that? Like, how did you decide where you were going to start looking on the ship?
Well, what we did was we had gone onto the Royal Caribbean website because we saw that they were having like this really cool sale. It was kids sale free, and we were like, cool. So we called the Royal Caribbean, and they're like, well, we can get you in a Ocean View Junior Suite, which will fit all 5 of you. Put the crib in for the baby, and we're like, okay, well, we'll think about it. Well, and the guy gave us his exact extension phone line number and everything, and we called him back after we decided, and we never heard back. So then we called Royal again. And then we got the runaround of, well, no, you can't put 5 people in the junior suite thing. And so I was like, okay, that's it. So I got with a TA. I got with a travel assistant, a travel advisor. What are they called?
You got with a travel agent. Awesome.
There it is. Sorry, travel agent. Excuse me. I got in touch with a travel agent, and she was like, well, we can do it this way. And yes, you'll get your children sail free, or we can do it this way. And what happened, what we got was a 2-bedroom, two cabins adjoining, because I couldn't find adjoining cabins online at all. And even with the way Royal Caribbean's website is, you can only do 4 people in a cabin. And I'm like, well, I have this extra person. So that's why I had to call Royal. Let me explain that part. I had to call Royal because you can only do 4 in a room. When you have more than 4, they have to do the extra things. So she was like, we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. And I'm like, and there was other options. It was like, oh, well, you could have a balcony room and have an interior room. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to be fighting over who gets the balcony room at night. That's just not going to happen.
Obviously, mom's going to get the balcony in that case, right? No doubt about it.
She's like, you can put the kids in the interior room and mom and dad. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because she was saying like, here's your room and then across the hall. So there's no. So then we agreed on adjoining balcony room, and thank God
Awesome.
because 2 bathrooms are better than 1. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a good point. That's a great point. By getting the 2 adjoining cabins, you got 2 bathrooms, you know, without having to get a suite.
Yes, and those bathrooms, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was a little claustrophobic. Those bathrooms are small. I will
They're
admit
small.
they are small. Yes, that shower, like I think I had this much room between me. Yes, and my husband's like 6 foot, so he's super tall, and so
It's
he's
just like
like,
Elf, you know, when he's standing in the shower trying to watch
yes.
himself.
Oh my goodness, but I don't think I could do it cruising any other way now. I love the balcony. I
Nice.
honestly was nice because with Royal, I don't know how like I said, this is all Royal because that's what we sailed
Right.
with. They're able to outside on the balcony. Each you have your little balcony and there's 2 like there 2 door things, and
Right.
they were able to open between my husband and I. So we basically had a bigger balcony to share between each other. So the kids had more area to walk around, and in the rooms, more area to walk around. So
And that
it
is a
was,
big tip. If you have adjoining balconies, ask the room steward to open them up if it's possible. Then you get a bigger balcony. Yeah.
yeah, it was nice.
That's
It was,
awesome.
it was so nice.
So we have our first question actually from Cindy. She wants to know where did you go? What was your itinerary?
We went to Cozumel, Mexico. We also went to, they call it Grand Cayman, but it was Georgetown, Grand Cayman, I guess.
Which
It's
is
a
Grand
little
Cayman.
town.
Yep.
And then we also went to Falmouth, Jamaica. So
Awesome. Awesome. Very nice. And you went on the Liberty of the Seas, which is a Freedom class ship. Yeah.
I have a thing to actually show. Like, this is what my cruise actually looked like. I don't know how we all fit on this little thing, but yeah, this is what our ship looked like.
It was really that small too. It's a ship for ants.
I know. Oh my goodness. So yeah,
That's awesome.
this is what our ship looked like from
That's
picture.
awesome. Yeah. We get the magnets ourselves. I was getting the ships for a while. Now I just get the inflatable ones or the plushies, but I get the magnets now.
They didn't have those. I was looking for magnets. I love magnets. Like, I got magnets at every port we went to, but they did not have a specific ship magnet or plushies. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
They were very limited on their selection.
It's funny. Norwegian's the only place where I've seen the plushie ships, so that's why I had to get it as soon as I saw it. So let's talk about next on my list here: planning and organization before the arrival. Man, you were organized, especially when you have small children. You can't show up at the ship, just having stuff everywhere. You really have to go into some planning. So you said, I know we talked earlier, you said you had some binders going on. And one of the things that, especially in Galveston, I've not seen this in Florida, but you said in Galveston, you even did a preferred parking. So let's talk through that a little bit.
So you have different parking options. They had a parking garage that you could pay for. It was cheaper than the preferred parking. But I had a friend that went on the same cruise as we did, and she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, get the preferred parking because it's like literally you get off, there's the terminal, you're good to go. You get right on the ship kind of thing." I was like, okay, makes sense. So we paid, it was $120 something for it, and because you pay for however long it's gonna be, the cruise is gonna be. So if it's like 5 nights or shorter, it's cheaper, obviously. So it was like $123.
Okay.
And that was the best. My husband even said the same thing. It was the best $123 we ever spent. Because what happened is when you pull into the terminal to drop off your bags, there's porters there. You give them your bags, tip them, and then you just literally just pull around, and it's just like a little U, and then you're right there to park. So you're literally bags dropped, you're parked, and then you can go get in there. Compared to like you have to drop off your bags, then go back around to get to wherever you're going to be parking, either in the parking garage and everything like that.
Gotcha.
So coming back, this is where it came in handy was if we had not parked there, the porter would not have been able to take all of our luggage from the terminal to our car.
Wow.
We would literally
How many
have
bags
to take
did you have when you came back?
yeah. When we left, like when we first started our cruise, we had 6 bags. When we got back, I think we had like 10 or 11. We did some serious shopping, like serious shopping.
You can always tell a first-time cruiser because they come back with twice the luggage they left with.
and the porter was trying to put it in our car, and I'm like, dude, here you go. Let me handle this. I got this. So I'm in there singing Tetris in my brain, going da na 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 na. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out how I'm gonna fit all these bags in the car, and I got kids and a stroller, and
I love this.
Best $123 splurge that we did was that priority parking.
So tell me about the binder. Tell us about that binder. What was that all about?
My sacred binder. So this is where I kept all our important documents. So like you would just like first page was our parking, and then so once we did the whole parking, we parked, I moved it to the back of the binder, and then like we had our tests, and then on the other side had like our we were vaccinated, because we had one that was unvaccinated, but we had our vaccination cards, and then we had our birth certificates with our C passes. And I also made there was a few things that my TA told me, which was like, make copies of all your important documents and put it separate from your normal documents, so if something were to happen, you have them, and email your documents to somebody you trust, so that if something were to happen, they have your documents. So when we got to the check-in place, like to actually check in, the lady was like, "You are so organized." I said, "You have 5 people." And we don't have, that was the other thing, is everyone's like, you need a passport. And yes, I agree. Passports are important. But for us, that was another $1,500 that we kind of don't have for 5 people. Maybe, in time we'll get them. But so we traveled with our birth certificates and IDs. And so when I handed her the binder, she was like, wow, thank you for being so organized. And the other thing is, people were throwing their documents at her. She's like, thank you for not throwing your documents at me. And I was like, well, it's just right here. You know?
I mean, these people are working, and they're trying to help you get on the ship as quickly as possible. So anything you can do to help them, don't just throw stuff at them, just hand it to them nice and organized, right? Oh, we got, who's that?
That's my 5-year-old. That's Lily. Can you say hi?
Hi, Lily. How are you?
You doing good? Yeah? Okay. Why don't you go find Daddy?
I love that. The magic of live television. You never know what's going to happen.
No, she came in here like, what are you doing? You're never in this room.
Who are you talking to? Who
are
is
you
that?
talking to? That's not Daddy.
That's fantastic. So actually, we've got a great question from Tristan, U.S. Party Company. He wants to know, did you have to pay double occupancy for both of them? Like, did you have to pay full price for both cabins? I assume you did.
Okay, so when the kids were all in the same room, so if we had done the junior suite, one of them would have sailed free. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because they were separated. So it was like 3 in one room, which was my husband, my sister, my husband, my daughter, and my son, and then I was with the baby in another room. So we were, so unfortunately, I think because the whole thing was about $5,000 for all 5 of us, so it was about $1,000 each. So
sounds about right. Yeah. And that was 6 nights or 7 nights?
7 nights. But there was also like a 30% off each sail, so I'm like 30% off each person, plus the kids sail free. So I just know it was about $5,000 for all of 5 of us.
So it sounds like you did pay the full double occupancy rate for both cabins. Basically, to answer what Christian is asking, it sounds like you did pay full double occupancy.
Yeah, my husband's probably like, wait, she said they sailed free, and I'm like, well, kind of. We got 30% off.
No, it was a discount.
There was a discount, just a little one.
Yeah. And there's a lot of funny math, with the way the cruise lines do it and all of that. So, sometimes you just never even really know, well, what did I pay for? What didn't I pay for? So But it does sound like you essentially paid like actual price for both of the cabins. You know, you didn't pay for a single. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So, so that binder, you know, obviously, I think that's a big takeaway for anybody who is going to cruise with children, especially if you're cruising for the first time with your children. Whether it's a binder, whether it's something else, be organized, and be organized before you get to the terminal. At the terminal is the wrong time to start organizing all your stuff.
I'm one of those that like I need hard copies of everything. So I printed out everything that we paid for, so we have hard copies of it. And so for me, it was easier just to, I had a backpack, I put the binder in, slipped the binder out, and then, you know, as the check-in process happened, I just held on to my binder, and I'm like, okay, who needs my binder? And they're like, not us. Okay, then I'll hold on to the binder, push the stroller, hold the binder, you know, kind of like, you know, trying to get there. But it was easier with a binder. So I'm not having, all I had to do was flip through. Okay, we're done with this. All right, I'll move it to the back, move whatever we need to the front, and then just keep going that way.
That is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So one of the real fun things for me, you know, Christy and I met on TikTok, and then she came and joined our Where's Walter TV family. And we've become friends now on Facebook. So we were chatting back and forth. And one thing that really almost happened right before the cruise, and you talked about it on the group, was that first set of pre-cruise tests. At least one of your children tested positive, and you thought the cruise was over.
Yeah. So with vaccinated people, with people that are vaccinated, you know, it's a simple antigen test. You know, you can take it at home. You can do. Well, unfortunately, the vaccines for children that I needed, which is my 4-year-old, had just come out. So he wouldn't have been fully vaccinated by the time we cruised. So he had to get a PCR test. Unfortunately, our family, a month before we cruised, all got COVID. Like we all got COVID. Started with my 5-year-old, and then went to my 15-month-old, then my 4-year-old, and I got it on the same day. And then my husband, who we thought was in the clear, got it almost a week later. So for us, I know it was crazy. So we're sitting here going, okay, so it's been a month. We should all test negative. Like it's gonna be fine. And we were testing negative at home with our at-home test. So we're like, okay, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. So with the unvaccinated child, you can do it up to 3 days before your cruise. So we got his PCR test done, and it came back positive. We're like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. And we're thinking, well, if he's testing positive, we're going to be testing positive. We're not going to be able to go. Right. So we that whole day we were sitting there going, what are we going to do? Like, do we continue the test? Like, do we just test and see where we're at, or do we just cancel our cruise? We already know he's positive.
Right.
So my husband's like, look, I just want to see where we are. Like, I just want to know if we're still positive. If we are, we'll cancel. We'll get and with Royal, the whole thing is if you test positive 10 days before your cruise, you get a full refund back. As of right now, unless those change.
Right.
Unless that changes as of right now, you get a full refund back.
Sure.
So, so the next day, which was Friday, and we were supposed to leave to Galveston on Saturday. So this is the day before we leave. We all got tested, and so we're sitting there. My husband's getting the oil changed, so he's waiting in the car, like. He's got stuff to do with the car, and I'm sitting there just.
I don't even want to know. You go do it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like, okay, so I'm gonna just start cleaning. Like I'm anxiety cleaning, and so my 5-year-old's test comes in. So our Walgreens didn't have any of the antigen tests, so we all took PCR tests. So hers came in and it was negative, and I was like, oh, okay, ooh, reel it in. I will say though, 2 and under didn't have to get tested, so my 15-month-old didn't get tested.
Okay, good.
So my 4-year-olds come in. I'm like, okay, so this is it. This is gonna be where it's gonna be thrown off. That's it. We're gonna call it quits. And it came back negative, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold on, wait 1 second. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times. And then so I'm sitting there getting excited, but then like reserved because I was like, okay, there's still 2 of us left to go. And then I was like, I'm negative. And then my husband's came back negative. So we're like, oh, thank God. But then at the time, we were like, oh my God, I have so much to do before we leave tomorrow. So it was like rapid packing just to get to leaving Saturday at 1:30. We were supposed to leave at like 9, and we left at like 1 on Saturday. But
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
that was very traumatizing. I think that's one of the things that is like hard for us is like you're sitting there waiting for something to tell you whether you can go on it or not. Now my husband had a backup plan just in case. So he was like, well, if it comes back positive, we're going to Disney World. We're gonna go do something. Yeah, I know. I was like, hey, we're coming to see you. We're gonna, but then it worked out a different way.
Best dad ever. If we're not going on a cruise, we're going to Disney World. Love it.
Oh,
yeah, it was very heartbreaking for us to see because Chrissy was so excited in the lead up to her very first cruise, and then suddenly it came out, oh, our cruise is canceled, and it was so heartbreaking. But then so exciting the next day and that's the key. If you've got a second chance to test, go take that test, especially if you had COVID a while back. I believe, what is it, like up to 3 or 4 months, people can continue to test positive even after you've had it, right? Something like that?
Yeah, it's like you can go up to 90 days with it. And so we're sitting there thinking, wow, we're already a month out and we're still testing positive, but the at-home test, we're testing negative. And so it was just one of those, like, we were just over it. I was crying. I'm not going to lie. I cried because I was like, how can this still be happening? But, everything happens for a reason. And to this day, my husband's like, I don't know what happened. Like, one day he's testing negative, one day he's testing positive. Like, I was like, well, you're sick. One day you're sick, one day you're not sick. It just happens.
There you go. So that's awesome. So one of my absolute favorite things about being friends and being connected offline now was when you first arrived at the terminal. so why don't you tell some folks about, that first experience, with the ship, when you saw it for the first time, you're pulling up and all of that.
So, leading up to this, I had been watching all the YouTube channels. I had been watching everything regarding the ships and, what to expect. But when you actually get there and you see how massive this ship is, and then you're told, oh, that's not even the biggest one in the world. You're like, wait, what? Because this thing is huge. Like I felt like this big, and it was like this big. Like I felt like an ant to like, I don't even know the comparisons anymore, but oh my goodness, it was huge. And like you've told me, like that's not even the biggest ship. It used to be the biggest ship in the world. It is not the biggest ship in the world. So I'm glad that
I think.
I'm glad that we started with a smaller ship, to be perfectly honest, just to kind of get an idea. We were already overwhelmed and we got lost multiple times. Even on the last day, we were still lost. So if we had gone on a bigger ship, I think the overwhelming feeling would be more than what it is now.
Wow. And so we've talked about your binders. You were like totally ready. You're there. You're in the terminal. Any issues or problems trying to actually board the ship, with the kids or that like getting onto the ship for the first time?
For us, so I felt like cattle at the beginning, because it's literally like it's all switchback, like going this way. And I think people showed up before they were supposed to. They have assigned times, like you select the time that you want to show up. And so, I mean, it was so, my husband took a picture of it. There was packed of just people, but it was going pretty quick because first you go through security. So they put you through detectors, like you would do at the Air Force.
The metal detectors, just like the airlines.
Yes, metal detectors. But then after that, they're like, are you vaccinated? Do you have anyone unvaccinated? So for us, we had to go through a different line because my son had to actually get tested at the port because he's unvaccinated. So, and it's an antigen test. It's a quick little nose swab. And then you do your check-in. They check all your paperwork and, all that. Take your pictures for your CPAS cards. And then they tell you, okay, you're going to go upstairs. You got to wait for your results. So that's why that day was very like anxiety driven, because you still had that one moment where if he tested positive, you could not get on the ship.
That's true.
So after we checked in, they had a little photo area. We took a picture. We went upstairs and they were like, okay, you're going to sit here. So you sit there and you're waiting for these results. So you're sitting there, your anxiety's high. like, okay, are we actually going to get on? Are we not going to get on? What's going to happen?
Right.
Ours, some people were waiting 20, 30 minutes. Ours was like 5.
Oh,
And,
wow.
oh, yeah.
Wow.
It was, I think because our check-in process took a lot longer because, you know, she had to go through our paperwork, and it's different when you have passports, and then taking pictures and trying to get the kids to stay still so that they can take pictures for the CPAS cards.
Right.
So our you know, our time took a little bit more checking in, but less for the email. So once the email came
Gotcha.
through, I think my husband and I almost cried because we had just
Aw.
went through so much just to get to this point, thinking, oh my
Aw.
God, we're not going to get on. So we just went, we can start our vacation now.
Yay.
And so when that happens, there's like a lady there, and she, you know, she asks for your name, and your picture pops up.
Right,
Okay,
right,
you're
right.
who you are. And she had to take, she retook 2 pictures, I believe. One of one of my baby, because they actually took his picture for his CPAS card. And it was blurry. So she's like, okay, we're gonna get another one real quick. So she had like a little handheld thing, took his
Right,
picture,
right.
and then another one of my daughter because she was, I don't know if she was blurry too. And then after that, it was just push the stroller up. Now I will say the you know the thing where you walk on to get on the ship. What is it called? The gangway.
The thing? The
The
thing?
thing.
The
The
thingy?
thing.
The
The thingy
thingy
with the
that goes
thing.
this way?
The gangway is
Yes, the
very
gangway, the big gangway.
is very steep. So I felt like I was
It is.
pushing like well, my husband was holding our son, I think, at the time. So he's holding a 27-pound baby plus a backpack.
Oh,
And
man.
the gangway is very steep. But other than that,
Yeah.
we didn't have any issues getting on after that COVID test. All of that before
Yeah.
was all anxiety driven.
Gotcha. Yeah, some of the gangways in Florida are less steep because the terminals themselves are taller. So you walk a little bit more steady. But yeah, some of the older terminals that are lower, especially with the big ships, you really
It
got to
was
walk
like,
uphill.
it was really
Yeah.
inclined, like
Yeah.
no joke. But I mean, other
You,
than that,
while we're on this topic, do you have any tips or advice or something that you wish you would have done differently just for that embarkation to get onto the ship?
differently, maybe check in some of those backpacks because it was just more added things that we were just carrying, and it was
Gotcha.
heavy and it was hot. So I advise like get little handheld fans because it was hot, especially during the summer. Now during the winter it could be cold or whatever, but
Right.
especially I mean we were drenched in sweat. It was hot. Even though we were inside, it was
Galveston,
hot.
yeah.
Yeah.
With a lot of bodies in there. Yeah. That's the thing, even some of these terminals, and like she said, people were showing up early. Now, with the Mardi Gras back in March, they weren't even letting people in the terminal. Like if you were early, they were like, nope, got to wait outside. But, depending on, this is the way it used to be before the pandemic. You pretty much just showed up anytime and they let you in. Disney is the most strict. Disney will not let you on the ship until it is your time to go. So people don't tend to show up early, but that does happen. You kind of get that big cattle call going on.
They had like before you went into the cattle call area that I call it now, they actually had like little lines like, okay, what time is your check-in? And they're like, oh, it's 10:30, and I'm like, no, mine's actually 10:30.
So at least they were organizing you. Okay.
They were trying to, but I mean, it wasn't like they were checking to see if your check-in time was actually 10:30. So if you said it was 10:30 and it was noon, they didn't know. They didn't really care.
Well, those of us who have cruised before will lie just to get on the ship early, so we don't care. So I think the answer is no, but Tristan is asking if you did the key package. Now, if you don't know what the key package is, it is a package from Royal Caribbean. You can pay for it up front. It allows you to have priority embarkation. You can get Wi-Fi. You get a special lunch when you first come on board the ship, and there's a few other perks involved, but it is a fee per day. So I'm assuming you didn't, but did you go with the key package?
No, we didn't, because you have 30 minutes from your time that you're supposed to check in and all this other things. And because of my son's extra test that could have taken up to 45 minutes, it wouldn't have worked out for us. And as far as like getting off the ship at certain ports at certain times, we didn't leave as soon as we ported. We kind of waited a little bit. Like we were late risers because of the kids. So for us, it wasn't beneficial, which is surprising.
Wait, you were late risers and you had little kids? How did that work?
I don't even know, but I'm grateful for it. I mean, they were up by, okay, so I say late risers. I guess 7 is not very late, but for like getting to Cozumel at 8:30 in the morning, we're
Sure.
eating breakfast at like 9:30, getting off by 10:30.
Gotcha.
So we weren't in a
Gotcha.
rush. We weren't in a rush to get off. We took our time. We went by what the
The way to
kids
do it.
were like. Yeah, the kids were giving us the cues. Okay, let's go. Okay, it's time to get back on the ship. It's time for nap time, kind of thing. So no, we didn't use the key. It wasn't. It wouldn't have been beneficial to us, but they would have been free for the key because it's like 6 and under is free, so you wouldn't have to pay for
Oh,
them. Yeah.
that's interesting.
So like my friend, she actually had to buy the key for all 5 of her family members to be able to
Yeah.
have it. But her husband doesn't like waiting in lines. So for them, it was beneficial. For us, we're just gonna go with the flow of how things go.
That's great. I mean, that is the ultimate key in cruising, is to go with the flow. And I love, I mean, that sounds like a really good piece of advice for anybody else who has a family. You were basically guiding your day based on the children. You were letting the children kind of guide. Do we go do more? Do we go back and take a nap? It's not like you were forcing the kids, hey, we're on this cruise, so we're going to get everything in that we possibly can. That sounds like a great piece of advice.
But see, also there wasn't very much for them to possibly do much. Like they couldn't go on the big slides, they couldn't do the flow rider, they couldn't. So it was more like, okay, so we have these little kids. What can we do? What is there to do? So like we went duck hunting. We went and found little duckies around the thing.
You got a duck.
I wouldn't give back my ducks, by the way. We went duck hunting.
She's a finders keepers, man. I'm keeping the duck. I'm not rehiding it.
Losers be weepers because these ducks are mine. I found it. Well, no, my son found one, and it was that story, the whole thing. And we went to the pool and we spent like an hour and a half. We had room service. We had, we went to eat. So we kind of just
Nice.
What would be fun for them, and so we didn't do excursion. I'll be honest, we didn't do any excursions. We stayed in the ports mostly because for us, we had never been these places, and most of the excursions were for older kids, not for. Now, some were where it was like you can get on a bus and then go take pictures and stuff like that, and we had considered it, but then we were like, well, our 4-year-old's potty training. Well, he's potty trained, but where are we going to find restrooms at these places? So for us, that was the reason why we stayed in port mostly, was because he needed that. We need to be able to find a restroom as soon as possible if needed, and we didn't know if that would be around when we were out on excursions. So that's why we didn't do any this time. But maybe when they're older, we will.
So I think you brought up a really good point. Just because the ship goes somewhere doesn't mean you have to do anything. In fact, there's no rule that even says you have to get off the ship. You can stay on the ship, and we call that a ship day, when everybody else gets off the ship and you basically have the whole ship to yourself. You've got the pools to yourself. You've got the flow rider to yourself. You've got everything that's on that ship. At least 75% of the ship is going to get off. So you got some good time. So I think that was an excellent plan by you guys, just to say, you know what, we're going to take it with the flow. I'm going to walk off the ship and go see what's out there. That was great. That's great.
And for us, like what we wished was there for us was like maps of the port. So like places to eat. I know like at Jamaica, we only had Margaritaville because we weren't going to go outside of the port area. People have been telling us, don't go outside the port area, stay in the port area. So they only have Margaritaville.
Falmouth, Jamaica is one of those places where I don't recommend you go outside the port area unless you're on an excursion, just FYI. Go ahead.
And then Grand Cayman, I mean, there's a little shopping area as soon as you get off the tender. But there wasn't anywhere to eat. And so for us, we wish we had more information. Yes, there's YouTube videos of them showing what's around and everything, but I think it's more of like this is what we have in hand. What can we do? What's shopping? What's eating? We somehow found a Hard Rock Cafe at Grand Cayman. And it's just because I saw it across the way and I was like, hey, look, there's a Hard Rock Cafe. Let's go eat there. So that's what we did.
Funny. That's too funny.
Like Cozumel and Falmouth, we didn't get out of the
Falmouth.
port. Falmouth. Okay. We didn't get out of the port. Grand Cayman we did because it's such a small port. You just accidentally walk out and you're like, oh, we're not in the
Yeah.
port anymore. Okay.
That's a
And so
really
we were
pretty
like,
place to walk around.
it was nice, but it was very hot. I will say that. All three, we were just drenched in sweat because it was just so hot and
There's a
humid.
reason that Rebecca and I don't cruise in the summer typically in the Caribbean. We usually go later.
And being from where I'm from, which is Texas, and we're used to the heat and humidity, it
Yeah.
just felt more hot and humid than normal. And so we walked around Grand Cayman, and we asked them for Margaritaville, but their Margaritaville had closed, I guess. And so they were like, "There's a Sharky's," and I'm like, "That doesn't sound very appetizing." And I was like, "Oh, Hard Rock Cafe, let's go there." So
that's fun. So Cindy actually has a great question that we were going to talk about later, but I'll go ahead and bring it up now. Were the kids occupied enough on the ship? She's thinking about bringing a 3-year-old granddaughter. Now, one of yours was 4?
4. Mm-hmm.
4.
So our ship had mini golf. We went mini golfing every night. The kids loved it. They've never mini golfed before, so to them this was something new.
Awesome.
And they also had an arcade, so we were able to go play arcade, and it was like some of them was like $1.50, and another one was like another games were $2. So I mean, it adds up at the end. But every night after dinner, we would go play in the arcade, and then we go mini golfing before bed. Other little things is like they have things that you can order for your room, and so I ordered this little guy. And he actually comes with like a blanket, and so things like that where you can just provide things for your kids, things that they've never seen and they'll play with. I mean, my kids lost interest with this guy after a while, but he's so like squishy and just like it's cute.
Well, that's the whole reason why. See, I have to go. That's the whole reason why I had to get the cruise ship, because it's so plushy and soft.
These have like the little beads in them. Like, I don't know, they're little beads. But my kids love this when they came in because it was something that they didn't know that they were getting. So they were surprised and they were like, oh, it's for us. Like, it's not mommy and daddy's, it's ours. So I had to get 3 of them. It was $57 well spent for 3. And that was because they were like 20% off. So I would also advise, like, when you're booking your cruise, when you're done booking your cruise and you're looking at excursions and stuff, look for sales. Sales is a big thing because we got we had a photo package. We got $100, it was $175, but it was for 100 photos or more or less, 100 photos or less. And so I took advantage of every picture person I could find, so that I could get pictures taken.
Yeah. Nice.
And they came out really nice. Some people were like, oh, they're not going to come out nice, blah, blah, blah. No, they were nice. They were nice pictures. I had some really nice ones.
Pretty good, yeah.
But as far as the kids, they have the pool area. If they're potty trained, they can actually move a lot more. If they're not potty trained and have a swim diaper, like my 15-month-old, they have like this little area for them. And we didn't know that, actually. When we first went to the pool, we had him with all the other kids, and the lifeguard came up. He's like, does he have a swim pamper? And I'm like, yeah. He can't be here? He's like, no, he needs to go over there. And so we found out that it's a little area, and it only stays open till 4, which that was one of the things why I'm like, it was good, but I wish there was more, because the swim area, there's just that little area for the unpotty trained. So if you can get your child potty trained before you go on the cruise, they'll have more area to walk around and a lot more of the splash areas and stuff.
Now, what about the kids club? Because all the cruise ships have kids clubs. So did you take advantage of that at all?
We went and we listened to them and we talked with them. But for us, it's the trust issue of, okay, well, we don't know you. We don't know. And they do things like arts and crafts. And they have certain times that you can do them, like port days. It's a little bit longer because sometimes you can leave your child there while you go on an excursion. My husband's like, that's not happening. I'm not leaving the ship and my kids are staying out. That's not going to happen. And I agree. Like, so for us, we had them registered so we could take them whenever they were open to go. But for us, it was like, this is our family vacation. We're here together as a family. So we're going to spend time together as a family. So that was the thing. Like, yes, sometimes I wish I was like, oh, I need a minute. Give me 1 minute. But they have like a nursery. So from like 6 months, which when babies can start
wow.
sailing, to a certain age, they go to the nursery and they feed your child, they bedtime, all these other things you can do. And then they have the kids, which is like 3 to like a certain age, and then they have another, like they have brackets for each age. So like 12 to 17 are together.
Okay.
But I also saw a lot of kids just walking without parents all the time. Like they were just in their own little worlds, just, blah, 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 everywhere.
Yeah.
That was one thing for me that I felt was like, was when we were at the pool areas, or I'll call it the splash pad area, because it had a little 2-foot pool that they could go in if they were potty trained, but like the actual pools, they weren't there. That was when they would get a little rough, is because the kids were just running everywhere. And then I was like laser focused on my kids, because I have 2 that are 4 and 5. They're short, they're small. Here comes like this 9 or 10-year-old, like, I'm like, no. So that was one thing for me, was like, there wasn't much, like, I can understand adults are on vacation, but sometimes keep your eyes on your kids, because sometimes they're not listening to the lifeguard, and lifeguard's like, hey, stop running, you're going to fall and hurt your head. And then there they go running. You know what I mean? But other than that, your kids will find things to do where you're thinking like, why is that fun for you? That doesn't make sense. But to them, it's like the best thing in the world, like finding a duck.
Right.
I was like a kid finding these ducks. I found 3. 2 of them were in an elevator, and my son walking out of the buffet, the Windjammer, just turned, and like people behind us, and he just stopped. And everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? He's like, duck. And like ran to get the duck. And then was like, I found a duck. So, the kids are going to find things. I mean, I heard families that were going around being like, we're going to go duck hunting. We're going duck hunting. We're going to go find duck. So, you can use a kids club, and they're trained. Like they do things. They teach your kids things. It's like a school environment, but they do things. Or you can just let your kids decide what you do. And that was kind of what we did, is we just let them decide. Well, and we walked the ship. We walked the ship a lot.
I bet you did.
Because we would be like, wait, where are we going? And we're like, wait, where are we? And then when we went to,
that is awesome.
We also took our kids to see 2 shows. We got to see shows. People are like, oh, you have kids, you can't go see the shows. You can. My 15-month-old, we gave him a bottle of milk. He sat there, and yes, he talked a few times, but like they were interested. So you can take them to the shows so they can see what's going on.
Very cool. Very cool. So you kept them well entertained on the ship. That is totally awesome. I love that you kind of that you had that emphasis on we're a family, so we're going to stay together, and and especially it is. I get it. It's your first time on a cruise ship. I don't know if I want to turn my kids over to these people, and you will see. A lot of times that first day, all the kids are shy, and about a second day, they're starting to form their groups. And about a third day, the parents don't even see the kids anymore. So I'm sure as your kids get older, you'll start to see some of that. Now,
and we might utilize that older. We might utilize that when they're older, but for us right now, they're at that age where they want to be with us. So we're utilizing that now until they get to teenagers, and they're like, I don't know you.
So, and by the way, Tristan asked about the, the key prices compared to the Wi-Fi, and yeah, you are going to have to compare that. The key costs more than just getting the Wi-Fi individually on Royal Caribbean, so that's why we didn't get it. Now one cool tip about Royal Caribbean and Wi-Fi is you can, and we talked about this on a TikTok last night. You can get Wi-Fi for 2 devices, 1 account, 2 devices. You don't necessarily have to get 2 different Wi-Fi accounts. So that's what Rebecca did for us. I'm getting the ultra high speed streaming on Royal Caribbean, and she got it set up for 2 devices. So she will be able to log in as me, and I'll log in as me, and we can both use the internet just with 1 account. So that's one tip to save on the Wi-Fi on a cruise ship. Now back to Christy. So one of the things I'm really curious about, and I will do this kind of as a 2-parter, but how did you set up the sleeping arrangements? And how did it work for the family? And then we've had an offline discussion too, especially with Christy, who goes on Disney a lot, where she's concerned about safety on the balcony. as well. So let's talk about sleeping arrangements, and then maybe you can talk about safety in the cabin and safety on the balcony.
Sure. So, well, first of all, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We decided to completely unplug that week. So we did, and it was great. But going on with the sleeping arrangements was with Royal Caribbean, you can actually, their beds come apart. So you can have two beds. But we decided, and like my husband's room, his thing had a bunk bed that pulled down. And we didn't utilize that. We just kept the beds at the two king size beds, because what we did is in my room, I slept with the baby. We co-slept, and then my husband slept with the 5-year-old and the 4-year-old, and it was just saved room instead of having to have two beds separated, and it makes your room smaller. You just keep it as it is. Safety wise, they come with like these they're glass tables basically. And I know that they're thick glass, but my child has a hard head, and I could just see him walking.
She's talking about like these little coffee tables that they put in almost every freaking cabin. So yeah, so go ahead.
So what we did was we asked the room steward, we were like, hey, can you remove these tables? Is there a way to get them removed? He's like, no, but I can put them in the closet. I said, that's fine. So he put them in the closet. So it gave us more space for the baby to walk around and the kids to walk around, and they didn't have to worry about hitting this table. And secondly, it saved me from worrying about them breaking the table because it's glass, and I know glass and kids don't go together. So that was definitely a major thing. Now, regarding the balcony, because I know she's been asking a lot about the balcony, the way our door was, it was very heavy. It was a heavy door. They didn't have like a child lock at the top or anything, but it was a very heavy door. Like I had to use both arms to be able to open it.
Wow.
My 5 and 4-year-old couldn't even open the door. And that was when it was unlocked, because the door handle actually turns and you have to turn it back to be able to lock it. So there was
very heavy doors.
Very heavy doors, and very thick doors too. So it wasn't like we were worried that they were going to just go out on the balcony without us. You could hear when the balcony door opens. It makes noise. Not like a annoying noise, but you can hear it sliding open and sliding closed.
Right.
So.
Right. And what about like when you were actually out on the balcony? I mean, there's chairs out there. Sometimes there's a table. Did you have any concerns like they might? So if you've never been on a cruise ship, the balcony railing is about 44 to 48 inches high. So it's not like it's a short railing. It's a very high railing. But there are chairs out there. There are tables. The kid could possibly get up onto a chair or table. Did you have any concerns about that or any trouble with that?
No, because they weren't sitting. They were like going back and forth. And sometimes they would sit down, but we never showed them that they could move the chairs. You know what I mean? Like we kind of just sat there and we left the chairs. So they thought, then they figured out that they could move the chairs, but they knew not to move the chairs. So my baby would move the chair because he was just having fun moving it around. But it wasn't to where they were trying to like stand on the ledge, try to look over, because the way that the balcony is it's all glass. So they could see what you're seeing without having to like look over, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's cool.
It was all glass, so they could sit there and watch the sea go by and not have to worry about so it wasn't like they can't see what you see. They see what you see. Yeah,
and most cruise ship balconies are glass these days. Some of them still have the old school, tight railing, but the kids can see. They don't have to look over the railing. They can see through the railing. And like I said, most of the ships today have glass on them. They're not always clean glass, but there's glass that you can look through and see.
And it's like pretty thick too. It's not like it's going to be an easy thing to break, because the littlest one had like a I don't even know what it was. It was a toy, and he was banging it on the glass, and I wasn't worried that it was going to break. So
So these ships are designed to go transatlantic. So they got thick glass on them. They're made to go through storms and stuff like that. So you're pretty surprised. That's why the doors are so heavy. I mean, they're essentially like hurricane, Cat 5 hurricane doors, which is why they're so heavy, which is what we had in Delray Beach, Florida. It was like a cruise ship. The doors were so heavy to move. So that is one of the cool things about that. So one big topic that always comes up with children is food, especially the fussy eaters. So what was it like with the kids? Did you have any trouble finding food? Were they fussy? Were they antsy? I mean, how was the dining experience with the kids?
So we actually utilized all the dining experience, well, except for the specialty dining. We tried Sorrento's, the pizza place, which was amazing. We loved it. Even my husband and I. And I was like, Walter said this was gross. Why? It doesn't taste gross. So
Well,
I
we
liked
haven't been on
Sorrento's.
Royal Caribbean for 3 years, and 3 years ago it was gross. But Rebecca did find out that Royal Caribbean has since altered the recipe, so we're going to try it in December. So
Highly recommended.
I'm glad you tried it.
The Windjammer was amazing. The kids loved it. And then we actually really enjoyed dinner at the main dining room. We went there every night.
Oh, nice.
And we had the My Time dining, I think it is, where you're at a specific time you go and you have dinner. So ours was, it was either 5 or 8, and ours was 5 o'clock. And Cyrus and Lovely, who were our Cyrus was our head waiter and Lovely was our assistant waiter. They were amazing. Yeah. They got to know my kids very well. Every night it was, okay, Lily, what would you like? Okay, like they treated my kids like adults in a sense of,
Aww.
Okay, they asked them what they wanted. Of course, I would have to tell them what they want, but they got to know who they were, and they got to know, Cyrus would be like, hey, Oliver, I'll see you tomorrow, and Oliver's like, so every night was pizza. The kids had pizza every night, and then the dessert would change. Some was vanilla ice cream. Then at the end, towards the end of the cruise, it was chocolate ice cream. One day, my daughter was like, I want cheesecake. And my husband and I looked at her like, what? You want what? And then she didn't eat it because she thought it was ice cream, and it wasn't. But for my husband and I, there was a few hits and there was a few misses. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. And it was the steak. Sure. We didn't like the steak much. But, I mean, I really enjoyed the main dining room. And if y'all, nice. And formal night was fun. Everybody was dressed as you wanted to be or as dressed as you did not want to be. Right. But as far as the Windjammer, I mean, breakfast, we had breakfast in the Windjammer. We did the main dining room once for breakfast and we didn't like it. Okay. But the Windjammer for breakfast was, we had kids wanted waffles. They had waffles. I'm not much of a breakfast eater, so I don't really I'll eat and nibble, but I'm not a breakfast person. Mm-hmm. My husband's like, that's the most important meal of the day. I said, no, it's dinner. Dinner's the most important meal of the day. Yes, but I'm not a breakfast person. So the food was really good.
For those of you who don't know, I mean, the main dining room on most cruise ships is open for breakfast. There's usually one other restaurant, depending on the size of the ship, that may be open for breakfast. So if you don't want to go to the buffet. But I agree with Christy, the main dining room for breakfast is very hit or miss. The nice thing about it is you're not dealing with a lot of people. People are serving you, but it will take a little bit longer. And sometimes the meals just aren't, as good. We've actually done it where we've gone to the main dining room, have breakfast, and then we'll go up to the buffet and just grab a little something, extra to go with it. Because by then, the buffet has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah. So. And my husband, he ordered 2 desserts. Towards the end, it was always a brownie and a cheesecake. But he always ordered 2 desserts. Yep. And so one day I tried and I said, I can't do that. I'm too full. I can't do that. I'm Sean. I can't be him. And Cyrus looked at me like I was crazy.
So, first time cruisers, just so you know, especially in the main dining room, you can order 1 of everything. You can order 2 of everything. It doesn't matter. They will keep bringing you food until you beg uncle, and then they will stop. So, and then another tip too, if you're in the main dining room and you see 3 or 4 entrees that you'd like, you can ask them to bring appetizer sizes out, and they'll bring you smaller portions of the 2 or 3 things that you want to try. So that's always a thing to do too as well.
And I can attest to that because my son decided that one day he was going to have macaroni and cheese, and he ordered that. And then they brought it out. He's like, I don't want that. I want a cheeseburger. So they brought him out a cheeseburger. He's like, I don't want that. I want pizza. So he had 3 different meals before he finally decided that he wanted pizza again. So we're like, all right, from here on out, you're just getting pizza because we know that that's what you like. So
and Christy's just crawling out from under the table.
Oh, we were so embarrassed. We were like, we are so sorry, Cyrus. And he was like, no, it's fine. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Nothing they haven't seen before.
And it's funny because like my husband, he's not a vegetable eater, and so
Uh,
Cyrus was like, "You are the first person I have ever met that does not want vegetables on anything," and so he would bring out like he's like, "I'd like a Caesar salad, but without the Caesar dressing. Can you put ranch on it instead?" So I was like, "Oh, you want a ranch salad?" And so now the whole cruise it turned into ranch salad. So the last night, Cyrus was like, "So Christy, you want a Caesar salad? Because that's all I would get the Caesar salad every day." And I was like, "Yeah." So they get to know you and they get to know what you like, what you don't like. And so that night they had this tomato soup and I was like, oh, I want to try that. And I forgot that I could order both. So my husband's like, look, I don't want another ranch salad. I'm done with salads right now. Do you want me to order it for you? I was like, yeah, please. So he did, and I ate that. And Cyrus is like, would you like some more? And I'm like, oh, I can get more? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like,
of
well,
course.
I'm gonna have something else come, but maybe after. And then I completely forgot about it. But yeah, the food was really good, and the servers were amazing.
That's the main advantage of the fixed time dining. You said my time dining. You actually did fixed time dining. So my time dining is when you can just show up anytime you want. Fixed time dining, you had the early seating. And what's lovely about that is the servers do get to know you. And it's amazing. After that first night, man, you know, if you ordered a Coke last night, you're going to have a Coke sitting on the table pretty much right after you sit down. You ordered the salad. They're going to bring the salad right out to you. So they get to know you. And the longer the week goes on, the more fun they have with you.
Yeah,
fantastic.
We took bottles because we're like, oh, we need to get milk, and we used to use the cafe promenade. But for dinner, I was like, can we just get some milk? I need to put in the bottle. Every night when we showed up, they had a glass of milk waiting just so I could fill up the bottle for my baby.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. So what about, you know, the worst part of any cruise? I think we've been talking for an hour already. How about that, Christy? So I told you it's going to go fast, right?
I'm taking your time.
No.
I could stay here and talk for hours.
YouTube doesn't care. We can just keep talking. YouTube's like, keep going. But I do want to talk about a little bit, you know, the disembarkation, which is the worst part of any cruise. But, you know, you've got 3 little ones, their family. Did you need to do any kind of special prep? Were there any issues? I mean, how easy or hard was it to go through that whole process?
Well, the hard part was packing, trying to figure out how am I going to shove everything in these bags was the first thing. And for me, I was like, I'm used to when you fly, you can only have a certain amount of bags that you can check, right?
Sure.
So getting on and off, I was like, oh, do I have too many bags? Like, oh my gosh, I'm like 9, 10, 11. And I'm sitting there going, oh gosh, like I have a lot of bags. Like, what am I gonna do with all these bags? And so for us, we pulled our room steward inside and I was like, so is this okay? And I mean, like literally a whole corner was filled. And it was like our normal bags that we brought plus extra from what we purchased. And so, but don't worry about how many bags you bring or leave off with, because you can have them. You have to, if you want to do it the way that we did it, is you set your bags outside the night before, like around 9 or 10, and they'll take them and then they put them in the terminal and you pick them up on your way out. Or if you don't have kids and you just want to get off without any issue or waiting for your number to be called, you can literally just take everything you have in your room and just go. Well, like your stuff. Don't take stuff from the cruise that is not yours. But
what? No towels? You didn't take any towels?
No. Did you know? Now I know you probably know, and for cruisers that are normal cruisers probably know this, but
that are normal cruisers. Wait, cruisers that are normal cruisers? Who are they?
They're the people that have gone more than
veteran
once.
Cruisers.
Yes. Those are the people that have been more than once. But for the newbies like me, I didn't know, and we didn't get charged, but you actually could get charged for your pool towels if you don't return them by 9 p.m. So we forgot what time the time was, so we were running to deck 12 to return our towels, so we didn't get charged $25 for each towel.
Wow. So, I didn't realize they put a time on it now. Yeah,
it's 9 p.m., but we thought it was like 5 and it was like 4:45. So I was like running to deck 12 trying to return our towels. You can
I
take
can
as
just see
many
that.
towels
Oh
as
my
you
God,
want.
we got to get our towels back. We got to get our towels back. Oh my God.
And then there's like a long line for sprinkled ice cream, and you're like, move! I need to return my towels.
Oh my God. That
So
ice cream. So if you've been on a Royal Caribbean Freedom ship, you know there's a soft serve ice cream in the pool area that will be lined up for days. It's kind of a gross machine after, like if you don't get there within the first 15 minutes, it kind of gets gross after a while. But yeah, that's kind of funny. I wish we had video of you guys returning the towel. That would have
no,
been a fun
it was
TikTok.
just me. My kids were stuck in
Oh,
the room, and I was like running back because,
so
so
I love this comment from Cindy. We're keeping her company. I'm glad we're keeping you company during work. I hope your
hello.
work day is going awesome. Yay! Shout out to Cindy. Hello. But yeah, that is totally awesome. So, big question: what do you wish that you knew then that you know now?
I have notes because I asked my husband this question because he's the one that was the hardest to convince to go on the cruise because he had heard all the negative things. Yeah, he had heard, oh, you're gonna get food poisoning, you can get this, you can get that, this is gonna happen, blah blah blah. So he was the hardest to convince. This had been a bucket list thing for me. Was like, I want to go on a cruise. Like it was a bucket list just to be able to say that I've been on a cruise. I could care less where it was going, but to be on one. Because I've seen them. You know, you're like one of those people that you just see them, you're like, oh, that would be nice. But for me, I was like, I would really like to do that. So for us, it was more like, I wish we knew what we could have done more with the kids. Like I wish we knew, like we didn't know that the first night the splash pad closed at like, well, we went up at 7 and it was closed, so it closed before that. They closed early, and they were like, oh well, the pool the other pool's open till 9. I'm like, I have a kid that can't go in that, so we can't utilize that. Another thing would be like, what else did he say? Well, he wished that we had brought a better stroller. We had used like a little $14 stroller. We saw people with like elaborate strollers, that they were able to lay their kids down, they could take a nap. And one thing that definitely saved us, and I'm very grateful for my friend, she doesn't have kids that are my age that are my kids' age anymore, but she actually had like a stroller umbrella. And that helped us at the ports so much because it kept the sun off the baby.
Imagine, yeah, with all that heat going on, you definitely want to have a cover over the kids. Yeah.
And even my kids sometimes would get under the umbrella so that they would be out of the sun. You know, people are like, oh, you need to take a lot of sunscreen. I took 2 bottles of each sunscreen, but because you only had certain amount of times at the pool, there wasn't really much sunscreen used because we weren't outside a lot, aside from the ports and stuff. I wish somebody really would have told me how small those bathrooms were. I really wish somebody would have been like, look, like I'm a bigger person. I'm a bigger person. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they don't look that small until you're actually there. Just like the ship doesn't look that big till you're actually there.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Big ship, itty bitty bathroom. Yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how is so what we did, I mean, yes, I showered in my own bathroom and stuff, but like if I had to go to the bathroom and we were out on the ship and people were like, oh yeah, we go back to our room, I'm like, no, I'm gonna use, because the bathrooms were bigger around the ship. The public areas were bigger than my actual bathroom. So I feel like I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be back.
Well, because they're all ADA compliant. So one trick to getting a larger bathroom is to get one of the one of the handicap accessible room, but then you're taking a room away from a handicapped person. But you're right, because all the bathrooms out on the ship have to be ADA compliant, so they are bigger.
So I mean, yeah, I wish they had told me that. But then also, the thing is, with that many people on the ship, and people don't like using stairs. I will say that. The elevators, we had to learn to go up to go down, basically. We needed to ride it to go up to be able to go down because they were always packed. They were packed. And people with strollers are just like waiting 20 minutes just to get onto the elevator because people that were able to use the stairs refuse to use the stairs, which I understand. I get it. You're on vacation. You don't want to work out.
But you know, when you're only going one floor, that's the thing that kills me. People just like going one floor or two floors. Now, the big trick to that is if, you know, depending on how many elevator banks, now certainly the elevator banks in the center of the ship are just going to be jammed all day, all night. And so the trick is to go to the front or the back. If there's elevators in the front or the aft, go to those elevators first. Even if you have to walk further, just go down the, you know, just go down the hallway to the very front or go to the very back. Use those elevators. They tend to be fewer people there, but certainly the ones in the middle. And when you have a stroller, yeah, that makes a big difference. But those of you who can walk, use the stairs. Just go up the stairs, for crying out loud. You leave the elevator for people who actually need to use them.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand, like, you don't want to use the stairs, but for us, it was like there was one day, I swear it was 20 minutes. We were just watching the elevators be packed.
Wow.
And we were just like, we're just trying to go down 2 floors to go have dinner. Or we need to go down to the cafe promenade so that we can go get milk for the baby. And that was the other thing is that, like, breakfast, we were able to get milk because of the windjammer, but we would have to go to the cafe promenade where they serve coffee and just pour the milk in there and just kind of like walk out with a cup. And then they're like, oh, you have coffee? Oh yeah, it's coffee. There's milk in there. You just keep walking.
That's a good piece of advice right there. Just go to the coffee shop and just pour the milk in. Yeah, if the windjammer is not open. Now sometimes they'll have that, you know, that little dispenser that does continue to operate even after the windjammer's closed. Sometimes, but not always. Or they'll have the little thing to milk out. Sometimes.
I didn't see those.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking half and half. That's the half and half dispenser, not milk. So.
Yeah, no, they had like an actual like pitcher, and it was like milk, and then there's another one that's like creamer. So I had to make sure to read to make sure it was milk and creamer. Let's give my child creamer.
So the last schedule question that I have is, what changes do you think you would make for your next cruise? I know you're kind of undecided. What are you going to do if you're going to go on another cruise anytime soon? But you know, knowing what you know now, what changes would you make going into your next cruise?
For us, well, I asked my husband. I was like, "Look, if we decide to go on another cruise, what would you want? Because I know what I want. What do you want? Because you're the one that's harder to get on board because of all the negative things that you have heard." And he's like, well, first of all, I'd like to go to one of the private islands that they have. So that's one thing for him. And I'm like, well, I'd like to go to Alaska to see the glaciers, you know, because A, it's colder, so we won't be so sweaty. We won't be so hot. And B, you know, we probably see more wildlife than we do right now, you know, because that's where the whales are and stuff like that. But what I would change for the next one would be, don't pack as much as you think you need for 5 people. I had like 3 different swimsuits for everybody. We used one, you know. I had so much clothes just for myself. Because I was like, well, what if I need it for this? What if I need it for that? And then it turned into, well, this is just taking up space. I don't know. I will say though, if you do have kids and you're traveling, you know, we have those wonderful potty seats. Well, people that have kids have potty seats, and I highly advise. It's on Amazon, by the way, to get one of these. This was a lifesaver. It's a potty seat that folds so that basically I just unfold it, put it on the toilet, and then that's it. Wipe it down afterwards, obviously. So it's clean. Obviously, right now it's clean. It comes in a travel bag. So you can literally take it everywhere you have. Like everywhere you need to go, you have it with you.
It takes up no room at all.
None whatsoever. I literally just stuck it on the stroller and just off we went.
Wow. Very
because
clever.
The toilets are huge, so it gets intimidating for the little ones because they don't have kid-sized toilets. They have the large toilets. So I highly, if you have children the age that I have, to definitely use those, because it can't. But I told my husband, next time we do something like this and we have to use potty seats, we're gonna get 2. One that we just carry around with us, and one we just leave in the room, because sometimes you'd be like, "Did you bring the seat?" And I'll be like, no one else in the room. So then we'd all have to go back to the room to get the thing. And the other thing is a step stool.
Oh.
We got we have foldable step stools, and you can I shoved it in the bag with the diapers. And so because they're tall and kids are short, so you need something to like help them get on without having to lift them onto it. So, but we left that we left in the room. So when we were out in other areas, we would help them onto it. But
nice.
That's something I highly recommend. If you have little ones that are scared of the big potties, like my son is, that came in handy so much. You have no idea.
That's really great advice, Christy. Thank you for that. I love that. Did they freak out when you flushed it for the first time? Those toilets are loud on a cruise ship.
I was freaked out. My kids are like, "This is cool," and I'm like, "What is this noise?"
They're all vacuum. You know, there's no gravity to pull it down, so it's all vacuum. So yeah.
And now that was something too, is that they had a hard time pushing it. Sometimes we actually had to like really force it to like flush. So sometimes it'd be like, "Mommy, you didn't flush." They're like, "All right, I'll be right there. I'll flush it for you." But
yeah, some of especially the older ships, depending on how often that thing has been pushed, sometimes you really got to push it all the way in to get it to go. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome, Christy. So I can't thank you enough for coming and joining, especially after all the technical issues we had last night. I'm so excited that we were able to at least do this, and then the replay will be available for folks to watch later on. The two of us, Rebecca and I, have been so honored to have been a part of your journey to the first cruise, and we're just so excited that you were able to take your first cruise. And it was so lovely to see all the pictures, especially after the heartache one day, and then the next day you're going. We do really hope you come to Disney World sometime soon, because we want to meet the entire family here in Orlando. But do you have any final thoughts for the folks watching who are thinking about going on their very first cruise with their kids?
For me, it's take as many pictures as you can. Get the like I understand photo packages are not cheap, but I mean, there's so many photos that I took that I'm not in. My husband took pictures of me, but I look crazy and I look nuts. I saw some of them. I'm like, why did you take that one? Do the pictures. Just when you're there, don't feel you have to go. Just relax and just let your kids and you decide. Talk to them about it. Like, well, what would you like to do? So every night, my 4-year-old would be like, "Okay, mommy, so after dinner, we're gonna go to the arcade. We're gonna go play mini golf. Deal?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I mean, every night. And then when we were like, "Well, we're gonna go see a show. They're gonna go do acrobatics." They're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Okay, they're gonna fly in the air." And so they were mesmerized. And then we went to see the ice. Then we went to the ice skating show, and about halfway through, my son was like, "Mommy, I'm done. I don't like it." Until they lifted them up in the air, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm interested now." So talk with them. They might not understand what acrobatics are, but if you're like, "Hey, these people are gonna fly in the air in this little area, like it's gonna be really cool." Like, I would turn and watch my kids, and my daughter's there. She's a thumb sucker, unfortunately. She's sitting there just watching, and so just take your time. Don't rush, because you know what? If you have the long one like we did or longer, you have that kind of time to just take it all in. Walk the ship. You told me, walk the ship. If you have the time, walk the ship. Now, we tried to shove it all in one night, and I think I broke my husband because the next day he's like, "My back hurts." And then he's like, "My leg hurts. What did you do?" I was like, "Oh, we walked the ship up, almost every level, and we went back and forth." But other than that, so, and then when we went to the ice skating, we didn't even go to that section. We'd never been there before. We're like, "We've never been here. Huh. So this is what this looks like." Like the last night, we were like, "Oh, so this is deck 3. Okay. We've never been here."
That happens on every cruise. You're like, wait a minute. What is this? Where'd this come from? We've been here for a week. I've never seen this.
Because like they hid where the ice skating rink is, because like right before it, it's where they sell all the art. And I'm like, we're not interested in buying art. Why are we gonna go down that way? And then like, but after that, there's like a bar.
Behind
Like,
that.
well, I'm like, my kids can't go to a bar. And then behind that, there's the ice skating area. So we're like, well, we had never been here because there was no reason for us to go there. Because
that's really funny.
I wasn't interested in buying art. I mean, there was a lot of people interested in buying art, but me personally, I'm like, why would I want to buy art off of a ship? I could just take a picture. Where's my art? So, but
That's
there was
awesome.
something else that we had bought, and it was on sale, and it's literally. I know it has actually all the ship names on here.
Cool.
I thought it just said Liberty, but it actually has all of them. And then you can buy the book and just print out a picture if you want. And it comes, well, at this time I haven't printed them out yet, but it actually has like a picture of the ship, and then you put in your personal picture here. And at the time, I don't know what happened. Somehow we got one. I don't know. We got one picture. So this is my family. This is my little, our little crew. My 5-year-old Lily, my 4-year-old Oliver, which is, and then my little 15-month-old Xander. So I'm gonna stick that in there. And that was the other thing is my husband bought like this crystal thing that will be here in like 45 days. We spent $200 on it, but you know, it is what it is. Like splurge. You know what I mean?
Your first cruise. Come on.
Yeah. So we get the package. I got the soda package. So I had like 2 sodas every day. But you don't need to have that. You don't have to have that because they have water, they have lemonade, they have apple juice, orange juice, that kind of stuff. So
they do. That's nice.
That's what I got.
Awesome. Well, again, Christy, I can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this. I think you provided a lot of great information. And what I love about this is will be available in the replay. I will cut up some of these clips, put them out on TikTok. I think you have provided a wealth of information. And, you know, when I saw everything that you were providing in the Facebook group in the lead up to the cruise, I'm like, I've got to talk to her after the cruise and see, you know, everything that went on. So thank you so very much for coming on the show today.
Oh, you know what? I would gladly do it in a heartbeat. I would even talk Disney with kids if you would let me once ever I get over there.
That will be a future live stream for sure. We'll do it from Disney when you are here for the very first time. She's never seen Disney World. So when you come here, and Cindy is saying thank you to you. And by the way, she also said, what cuties to your little kids.
They're so
cute. I love that. I love that. So Christy, stand by. I'm going to wrap up, but I want to come back to you. So just wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else who has joined us today, thank you so much for coming on to our first live stream. I know this was kind of like a last minute thing, but if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. We are providing information, tips, ideas on cruising, on travel, certainly the theme parks in Disney. We live just a few miles away from all the theme parks down here. So if you like what you saw today, please do subscribe. Let your friends know about it. And if you are cruise or cruise curious, definitely check out what we've got here in our library. Our aim is to help you enjoy your life and certainly enjoy your first cruise. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again really soon.